And so before we start, I just wanted to acknowledge that Edith Lando is on the unceded, ancestral, and stolen territories of the Musqueam Nation. And that is where I work, live, and play. And maybe since we're a small group, each of you could just quickly introduce yourselves, where you're from, and what community you're in. And then we'll pass it over to Sarah. Carol, did you want to go first? You're first on my screen.
Sure. Hi, I'm Carol. I live in Salmon Arm, and I'm actually a faculty advisor for some of the university teacher education programs. And I work and live on the unceded territory of the Shrutnik peoples.
Great, welcome.
Carleen, do you want to go next?
Hi there, I'm Carleen. Wow, sorry, I'm trying to get set up after school and everything. I'm a grade 4-5 teacher in Victoria. I work at Sir James Douglas School, and I was really interested in this idea of sustainability. My class has kind of made it one of their goals for the year, and I'm hoping to start like a green club or green team kind of at the school, and just trying to figure out some more ideas around this. And yeah, I'm in Victoria on the unceded land of the Lekwungen speaking people. Very lucky to be here in such a beautiful place, being able to do the wonderful work that I do. Thank you.
Great, so nice to have you. And Sheila.
Hi, I'm in Vancouver, so I am on the unceded ancestral land of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh. I'm a grade 1-2 teacher, and also, yeah, looking for ways to make sustainability meaningful for students, and have been thinking about in the past trying to have a zero waste and really have very little garbage as one thing that we can talk about and sort of try to experience in the classroom. Yeah, looking for ideas on how to make that actually happen.
Great, thank you. And we just had one more person join us, Angelia. So we're just doing some introductions. We're a small group today. So if you don't mind just introducing yourself and where you're from and why you're here today, that would be great.
Hi, sorry, I was having internet issues
Okay.
to join from my iPad. I'm from a small rural community, like got to take 2 ferries to leave and get here. So sustainability and minimizing garbage is really huge in our community. We got to truck it all the way off island, and yeah, so lots of recycling and reusing. I'm hoping to get some more tips. It's hard to get away from paper in a preschool.
What is the name of your community?
Hornby Island.
Hornby Island. Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you. And then over to you, Sarah.
Thanks. I'm Sarah Newton. I work in Revelstoke, and that is the traditional unceded territory of the Sinixt Nation, who are the people of the bull trout, and they're all along the Columbia River, except you won't find any of them there anymore for a variety of violent and tragic reasons. They're slowly making their way back here from a reservation in the United States, but they just won a Supreme Court case in Ottawa last year to not be declared extinct, if you can imagine. This territory is also traditionally used for harvesting rounds and trade by the Secwepemc, the Silks, and the Ktunaxa people. So I made a little video because the first time I did this, I set up my whole classroom to show you, and I've never been that organized since. So I've got a bunch of things on this little video I'm going to show you. And so jot down any questions on the way, and then we can chat. And then I have a couple more things if we have time at the end. So now I'm going to share my screen. And you're going to give me a thumbs up if the volume and images work. Okay, so here we go. Tell me if it's okay. And you can give me a lower or higher if you need to.
Bonjour encore, j'avais oublié un
It's in
petit
French just for 2
morceau
seconds.
d'information. Je suis une enseignante.
Oh my gosh, I thought I got to the English part. How many people here can understand French, basic French for 20, 30 seconds? Great, here we go. And if you can't, you won't miss much, I'll tell you. Here we go.
Dans le 5e niveau avec les enfants qui est 10 et 11 ans. Et il y a 25 élèves dans mon salon de classe cette année et ça c'est normal dans cet endroit. Et merci.
I'm going to give you a little tour of my classroom to talk about ways that we've reduced waste. And all of the things I'm showing you, my class and I have discussed and weighed the pros and cons of different choices. And often we come up with things that I'm surprised that I hadn't thought of. So we discuss options, but this here is the core value when they come in on the first day. And when I speak to the parents, it's why I believe we should be learning, and it's to be a force for good in the world. And I talk about grit, curiosity, and optimism. So being a force for good is the underlying message of my whole teaching philosophy that I talk with the kids about. So we have a common saying in English, we're going to throw the garbage away. We're going to throw the broken pen away. And we really talk a lot about there is no away. It's somewhere in our landfill or being shipped overseas to be burned for electricity. There's no place where stuff goes that's invisible, like it goes somewhere. And so we really go to the root of that, like where our things go when we're done with them, and someone else is paying the cost of that. We might not be paying the environmental cost, but someone is. And that's that whole idea of environmental justice tied in with poverty and inequality and oppression. So we do take a tour of our landfill and our recycling center, and then we really question, well, where does it go? And we try and follow the trail of where our recycling and garbage goes. And when they see that so little is actually truly recycled, with the exception of aluminum cans, it drives it home to them that it is our job and our responsibility. And that's really important. Their idea is the life cycle, like stuff goes somewhere, it never really disappears, a lot of it. And that helps them come up with plans on how to limit their footprint, and the fact that it is their future, that we've messed up, and they're the ones who are going to solve the crisis, and it is attainable. The solutions are in other countries already being done, and that gives them a lot of hope. That idea that the solutions are already in place in other areas. And we actually live in a place where we have a lot of power to make changes. If we lived in Bangladesh or a low elevation island in the South Pacific, it's dire. Here we have a lot of privilege. We have a lot of room to tighten our belts, a lot of room to make changes to improve the level of waste and waste. Yeah. All right. So at the beginning of the year, we, for the first 2 days, we just throw everything in the garbage. I don't say a word about anything to do with how to sort. And after 2 days, I've saved it. We do a garbage audit. We lay it out on the floor, and the kids discuss how we could reduce waste. And they come up with ideas like composting, paper recycling, plastic recycling, and we really dig deep into that. And so in the end, we come up with, yes, we should paper recycle. And yes, we will compost, and we're supposed to take stuff like this home. We talk about the economic value of buying their yogurt in bulk or whatever, and dividing it up themselves, how they save money and it's less waste. When they do bring single use, I ask them to rinse it and take it home. I'm not going to be recycling plastic in the classroom. It just attracts insects. So we do that garbage audit, and we come up with the idea of composting, and we discuss who could compost and how we could do that. And then we talk a lot about paper. All right, so paper, we talk about how to reduce the need for paper, and I tell the kids that this loosely is most often made with recycled content. So this is a better choice as opposed to the photocopier paper, which is what we're often using. So once they kind of talk that over and the value of using a product that's not made from a fresh tree, they're not so grumpy about writing out a bit more. But when I do photocopy, I obviously double side, and I try and put two messages on the same page. So for example, the spelling test, I would do 3 on a page. I wouldn't waste the paper. And I would use paper that has been rejected from the printer because it was a mistake. So oftentimes on the back of these things, it's something that someone didn't want and threw in recycling that I print onto. I can use the bypass heater. And the other thing about paper, the kids and I talk about new school supplies every year. And I was really surprised that they didn't mind the idea of using old stuff. So when I gave out the school supplies, I said I would give them an incentive to have it look really good at the end of the year. So in June, when the school year is done, I collect all their duotangs. And if they're good, they get a larger brownie, like I make brownies. And there's different sizes, regular, large, and extra large. And the kids who have taken really good care of their stuff, they give it to me and they get an extra large piece of brownie. The same with school supplies. I tell them, like, our school kids pay to purchase supplies from the school. So they get their supplies and I tell them if the stuff that can be still in good shape, if it's still in good shape, I'll also incentivize that to take good care of it. And that's that critical thinking around respecting resources. So we don't need to wreck things. We could keep them and treat them well. So what's happening in the video is we talked about composting in the classroom and the kids just think it's this fun thing to do, when in fact it's the #1 thing they can do to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions is composting, because, and they have to understand, the whole school has to understand what anaerobic fermentation is and the fact that landfills are designed not to have waste organics in there. They're designed to be shut off from the environment so that there's no leaching, and so you're putting food in there, you're creating methane. That's really important. So they made this video all about the different ways of anaerobic versus aerobic fermentation. And then they showed it to the whole school, and it's very empowering. So I just wanted you to watch this video because a lot of adults don't understand why composting is a big deal. Recycling is not worth your time compared to keeping waste at a landfill, unless you live in Salmon Arm, because their landfill, when it was filled up, they capped it with pipes, and they are taking methane out of the landfill, converting it to natural gas. And it's my understanding that for the next 40 years, 400 houses are heated by that waste coming out of their old landfill. But we're still trying to keep organics out of most landfills. All right, so the other thing students noticed was around the dry erase boards. We buy this in big boxes in our school, but what we do once it runs out, we fill it up mostly with water and a bit of white vinegar, like a 1:20 ratio, and the vinegar works really well. I've also read you can use hydrogen peroxide, but we do not need more than one of these in the classroom, and we reuse it. The other thing I couldn't believe we were able to do, but during the pandemic, we use paper towel, and now paper towel only for bodily fluids, vomit, blood, that kind of thing, and the kids know where it is. But the rest of the time, they each have a little towel that are ripped up old towels, and they have it at their desk. We have a little clothesline on each desk, and they use this all week or whenever they need a new one, and then they're washed at the school. So that's helpful. And then we came to the biggest challenge of all. The kids really were frustrated with expo markers. They believe, and I believe them, I agree, that there's less ink in these every year. And you can recycle them supposedly, but I really don't believe in a lot of truth around plastic recycling. So we wrote expo as a class. They dictated the letter to me asking that these should be refillable or at least have more ink. And sadly, we did not hear back from them. So we took it into our own hands, and you're going to follow me over here. Here we go. We have a station over here with a soccer sock. And we put the expo when they run out in the soccer sock, and we spin it super fast for 5 seconds like this. And not much longer, because it'll explode out the end, and I've had a mark like up my classroom of ink. But it gives you about 20% more life in your marker, and that works for any marker. Just do not do it too long, 5 seconds. So then when they're done, and they're really dead after that, we're collecting them right here. And this is already a year's worth of marker. Like, it's so terrible, but we are going to use them for an art installation. We're not sure how, but that was the only solution we could come up with. And that's it. And I forgot to tell you, we just attached the cloth just like this, or some of them, they like the clothesline. They, it depends what they're into, they decide. And the other thing I wanted to point out is just the whole idea of rethinking and to really ask the students for input, because they come up with great ideas. For example, we would have these bands, they're kind of like a fidget, but they were always wearing out and rotting. And I said, okay, what can we use? I'm not buying these. We're not waiting for the order to come in, etc. And they actually came up with the idea of course, there's no one around here, right here. Yeah, the inner tube. So the bike shop saved them for us. They're about to be recycled. So we're actually finding a new life for them, and they do not wear out. They're great. The other thing I wanted to talk about was we use the projector a lot, because then I'm not using expo markers, and the kids aren't getting a lot of photocopied paper. So that was our solution for the expo markers. A part of the solution was using the projector. And we're going to walk over to my sink. The whole school bought class sets of these and cutlery, so that we don't have to be using disposable, and we never do. And if there's a school function, we just bring them down to wherever it is. And because they're color coded or numbered, we can find them and get them back in our classrooms. Okay, so the other thing I talk about with the kids, giving the laminator a break. This is a little pet peeve of mine. We laminate so much as teachers. It's like our favorite thing to do. So I'll use cardstock if I have to, but we definitely give the laminator a break. And in our school, we've become really good. We're not taping things anymore. We use sticky tack, just a little bit less waste. And one of the kids this year pointed out to me that, why am I using a stapler to put things up when I could be using tacks? And I'm like, that's a good point. So the kids are really great. We use tacks to put things up, and we really try and give the stapler a break.
The critical thinking component of my teaching revolves around getting students actively involved. So we would often go to climate strikes, the Greta Thunberg Fridays for Future climate strikes. But of course, other teachers were really not interested, because it is a little bit difficult and there's conflict with parents. And we found a way around it in our district to get other teachers motivated. And that was through this man. This is my superintendent. And he had the idea of not having climate strikes, but having expos. So we had big like science fairs with a class from the high school and a class, my class at the elementary level, making science fair booths about reducing greenhouse gas emissions. And that's what you're seeing here. So we had hands-on booths. Everything were ways to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, from making your own toothpaste to learning about transportation of food. And it worked. We got 600 children out our first attempt. So just that little mindset of making it not a climate strike, which is a political event, but making it a climate expo where kids were coming on a field trip to learn more about greenhouse gas emissions, and it worked. To really get kids motivated to have a more global approach to their thinking about waste and resource management, I did a lot of projects like building a local trail for kids to try and have a low impact, that to show that their actions have value. And then we did a lot of work around biking to school and motivating kids by having them have a lap through the school if their class had 90% or more participation in biking to work. We raised money to plant trees. We brought Indigenous knowledge keepers into the classroom. We wrote letters to local politicians. We fundraised for an outdoor classroom. We did a photography unit all about nature and noticing the small beauty around us that is worth protecting. We looked at building sustainable houses and a full analysis of how to reduce waste at home. We also came up with ideas at Christmas, and we put them on display downtown, of things people could buy that were experiences as opposed to more products, buying more stuff. We also did a massive unit on looking at the life cycle of different everyday products like jeans, pencils, and batteries, etc. And that was very eye-opening for the kids to see the life cycle from extraction to manufacture all the way through to consumption and disposal. Merci pour écouter.
Yay, you don't have to listen to that anymore. So I hope that made sense. It was super fast. Though I just wanted to add a couple ideas that I didn't mention. With the pandemic, everyone was getting outside and everyone was buying sit spots, but we just made our own. These are those squares that interconnect. I use our Facebook page, like we have a Revelstoke community page, and I ask for everything and got a bunch of these things donated, and I just cut off the jigsaw part for the sit spots. I also talked to the kids about those fancy schmancy Ziploc bags they want to buy to reuse all the time. And I model the fact that I have, mine is my frozen corn bag. Like, it's that walking the talk, so they don't have to go buy this great Ziploc bag that's reusable. They can use something from home and to get creative. And the other thing is to destigmatize the thrift store. I tell them all the nice things I get at the thrift store, and that's where I'm getting my school supplies. And they start talking about it. And the prizes, I mentioned briefly, we did that bike to work week that a lot of schools do. The prize was if we got a certain percent, each classroom, certain percent of kids walking or biking or scootering, if they reached the threshold of 90%, they got to bike one lap through the school, and we did it all on one day. And if they got 95%, they did 2 laps. And if kids lived really far away, we asked their parents to drop them off. We had a place where they dropped them off to walk. That was pretty close. And I just think that's all my notes. Yeah, and I just want to say, listening to that, I'm like, oh my God, I did not do all of those things on my own. I was on a lot of committees with different people. Like, I did not build 3 outdoor shelters. That was like 5 years with 15 other people. Yeah, so I want to know if you guys have any questions, and if you could share with us things that you are doing. I thought we could do a little roundtable if you have questions, and if you could tell me what you are doing, that would be really helpful. Should I ask? Okay, go ahead, Carlene.
Hi there. I had a quick question about, we have like fun lunch days And I have found that there's like so much waste that goes on from those. We have pizza lunch days. So I kind of tried to, this is my first year at this school, so I'm trying to figure out kind of what they did in the past, but any ideas for things like I don't know if those paper or if the pizza boxes, I think I have to maybe research in my own community a little bit how those pizza boxes can be recycled. I think generally we're trying to, but maybe we're trying to do that. And things like milk cartons as well. I had kind of saved my classes, but so something like that. Any ideas for
Is
some
it
of
your
those bigger
pack
things?
organizing the pizza lunch?
Yeah, the pack is.
Yeah, we've had that too. We've asked the pack if one parent can take them to be recycled. Like that's one of the parents' jobs.
Yeah.
Is just to scrape them out. Like they're not supposed to take them if they're dirty, but I think you scrape them out and stack them up and take out the little plastic thing in the wax paper. And the milk cartons are a tough one. We had them at my school when I first started, and we convinced the principal that the BCTF has, the SPCA has a lot of information on the cruelty aspect of milk. And so we stopped bringing the milk in, and also the kids were only getting the chocolate, it seemed to us. So we did that, but yeah, milk cartons would be a tough one. I don't know what you would do with those.
Like I said, I'll look into my own kind of local recycling and that kind of thing.
But it is
but-
cheaper if you're buying in bulk, right?
Yeah.
It's
Right.
painful.
Awesome. I really like the idea of the cloth hand towels. I think that's a really great idea, and the reusable spoons and forks and that kind of thing, and just the composting. There are so many schools that don't do that. So
And you can, for the composting, I was at a conference talking about this, and the teachers from the Okanagan, a lot of them said that they just asked their school to pay for the commercial pickup. And they did. I was like, oh, okay. I mean, I was taking mine home forever. Myself, I like it. It's a resource. Yeah.
great. Thank you.
Well, I'm a retired teacher, but I've done a lot of these things. I was out in a rural school, so again, you don't have all the advantages sometimes of being in the city. But we had some great people on PAC who were also behind recycling and things, and I'm really happy to see in Salmon Arm here that we have a food waste collection with the city now, and many places don't have that. And I mean, we have our own garden and everything, so definitely, talk about composting and things. We do it all the time as much as we possibly can. So we don't have a lot of food waste that goes. But talking about like pizza boxes and things, our food waste system will take those because they're processed through, and even those the takeout containers from, especially during the pandemic, you're trying to support local restaurants and things, and you got takeout containers, and they are recyclable through the food waste program. So that was a really big bonus, and I really like that. And I think it is, I'm trying to pass on to some of the teacher candidates and interns about some of the sustainability pieces that they may want to introduce to your classes. So that's why I was really excited to see you, Sarah, especially in Revelstoke, because I'm not too far away, and being such a good advocate for this. So thank you.
It's interesting, the Columbia Shuswap Regional District, that's Carol and I's regional government, have been great with this commercial and residential food waste pickup. It's taken forever. It just started in Revelstoke, but yeah, they take a lot of stuff. So that's really such a nice thing now. Sheila?
I was wondering about sending the plastic home. And maybe you can say a bit more about that. We did as a staff last year, and maybe other years as well, because I think a few years ago, before I was here, there was attempts, various teachers sort of tried to take on recycling and have a recycling club and have this students participate in that. And anyway, I guess at the end of that, what they came to is it's just maybe better to send home what you pack in your lunch, you take home. And maybe you can talk a bit more about that and how. So, I mean, we do have a blue bin here that, well, the one at school, like the larger blue bin is mixed, which I always worry about, that nothing actually happens to it because it's paper gets mixed in with other stuff, and then people put paper towel in there too. So it does look like a big mess that I don't know how it could, anyway, if it gets recycled. So yeah, I guess you also said that you have a talk with kids. So let's say the yogurt containers or whatever it is. So do you talk with them about, like, does that go in when you're talking about sending it home? Is that sort of to educate families as well and try to get them to have less stuff be taken home as well? And maybe you could talk a bit more about that.
Revelstoke is a super gentrified community. Like, we've got poverty, but yeah, it's easier for me, and I know that, than other communities. I give the kids the language. I talk about trying not to spend a lot of energy on the symptom of the issue, but get to the cause. So hyperconsumption is a thing we need to look at. So we look at the story of stuff and the story of solutions. Those are two videos that are really helpful. I've shown them as young as grade 4, the story of stuff, and then the story of solutions. And it talks really clearly about, do not try and solve a symptom. You need to get to the root thing. So we look at recycling, for example, in the school. There's a lot of energy. And like you say, really, is it really recycled? And I was on our regional government's solid waste management committee for a few years. And I was told, this was about 7 years ago, that we really don't know as being recycled. Like, honestly, it's not worth it. And even if it was, the resources into recycling are the resources to recycle, and the kids get that, right? They understand that, wow, that's a lot of time, effort, and energy to, if we could reduce and reuse. So we do some math around bulk buying, and I know people are in a hurry. Like, I'm asking a single parent to ladle a yogurt into a Tupperware every day. You know, it's just might not happen. So we do talk about rinse it out, take it home, and recycle it at home. We just can't have the fruit flies. So I give them a variety of reasons, and really try to be aware of the fact that we don't want to shame kids. And we talk about that too. We talk about, why would we shame Bobby for bringing in the yogurt container? They're trying their best with healthy things, but you please do take it home and recycle it. And really the idea of the causes, trying to get to the root cause. So I hope that helps. But yeah, I don't buy into that recycling that's all mixed either, really. Angelia, did you have any questions and comments?
I don't have too much in the way of questions. I work in a preschool, so some of this is a little advanced for our kids. So we recycle at the school. We've done the sending the containers home thing for a while. Kind of worked, kind of didn't. We have a big compost bin. We have our own garden, so we try and use that. Our recycling depot will take compost, which is nice. But again, I mean, aside from the compost, everything has to be trucked off the island. So looking at reducing, trying to reduce paper in a preschool is really challenging. We do a lot of art. So yeah, but we have a lot of the building blocks in place. Our whole community is kind of, everyone recycles, everyone composts, we fend for ourselves. So makes a big difference. The kids already have that culture at home.
Yeah, I bet it's that environment for sure. I mean, you could ask around if there's people that are recycling paper that's only been used on one side. All my worksheets, I'm using other people's old paper. And the other, you made me think of something. I did all this work at reducing waste in the school with all these things that have been mentioned. And my custodian said, you know, it's all really great, but the waste from this school, 99% of it is from our daycare that's embedded in the school with diapers. It's like, oh, right. I just want to show you.
Say something quickly, just because the talk of preschool made me think about my son and my son's school. He's in preschool right now, so they do a lot of really cool stuff. Like when they don't send home any art. We have zillions of things of art. We don't need that. So they use like old boxes, or like there was a fence that needed painting, so they did some painting on the fence before the fence got painted. And then what they do is they take pictures and they email them to the parents. So you have it, but like it's all recycled and really great. So in that way, they're amazing. But when it comes to their lunches and stuff and the way they handle that, it's pretty terrible. So like I got a complaint from them that because I put everything in Tupperwares, his bag is too heavy, he can't lift it by himself. Like my son's like just turned 3. So they're like, can you put more things in bags and not in containers? And I was like, that's really horrible. Can't someone just help him bring that? I know they're really busy, but like that's one thing. The other thing is the amount of wet cloths that those disposable like wet wipes that they use is just unreal to me. Like my son loves washing his hands. He begs to wash his hands and face when like he's dirty. They won't. They're like, we're too busy. We can't take every kid in to wash their hands. So they just use like wet wipes for everything. And I'm just assuming they're going through like probably at least 20 wet wipes a day on just my one son. And so I'm wondering how do we as parents change that? Like, I guess teachers ask us to change and do things. I want to ask the teacher to change, but I don't know how to ask that in a way that is polite and also doesn't super inconvenience them. I get it. They're busy. They have 3 kids each and a total of like, I don't know, 20 kids running around. It's a lot. But yeah.
Well, I have found this exact thing, and I found that not a solution, but a way. I took this course from Cornell University online, $60, and it was climate change education. And it was hilarious because the first part of the 6 weeks was some climate science, and then boom, it was right into human psychology. And it was hilarious because people understand what they're doing. They just, it's not a big enough incentive. So the whole course was about find out what does make people tick. And at the daycare, the person there making not enough money, not a living wage, isn't the person to talk to. You know, you find the person who's making the decisions, and you figure out, is it monetary stuff? Because they are going to save money using reusable cloths. They're going to reduce kids' allergies. They're going to reduce space. They don't have to keep all these boxes of those wipes. They don't have to go to the grocery stores often. I'm assuming they have a washing machine, but if you can go at it from the monetary value, that's usually the best way, or status, you know, like, oh, you're a green daycare. People love that stuff, right? So you have to figure out who's making the decisions and then find out what makes them tick. And don't even mention the environment, because that just shuts people down unbelievably, or not shuts them down, but they just go, no. Like at our school, we have washing machines and we're using liquid detergent, and it's super heavy and big. And we switched to powder, and I convinced them, because why are we shipping and paying for water to travel around the world in that liquid detergent? So it reduced the amount of space to store all that stuff. So that was what made our purchasing agent happy. The thing about the Ziploc bags, I'm sad to say, or happy to say, I used to harvest them off the playground at my school. Like, I never buy them, but I would go out at recess and I could find Ziploc bags by the dozen, and I'd wash them, dry them, hang them up and reuse them over and over again. Like, a decent freezer bag lasts a long, long time. And I'm pretty psyched because now I can't harvest them anymore off the playground. There aren't any. So either kids are getting the message, or the parents are not buying them anymore. And I've said that to the kids, like, you take that, wash that Ziploc bag, take that Ziploc bag home. And I said, tell your parents that you're going to use the same Ziploc bag over and over again, and you want the money they save. And then the kids are like, oh, I get the money. And they're not buying any more Ziploc bags. So that is what motivates the kids, if it's not just to be the green person, because kids have a lot of power. You know, you go to the grocery store, they're making you buy the stuff you would never want to buy. They do have power in what they whine about, and I tell them that. The other thing was, someone mentioned the green team. Our green team did a book swap and a clothing swap. They did that expo, And they also kind of, this year, we're hoping that they're going to do some advertising about what happens, like at the regional district compost facility, there's a reuse it shed. People don't know that. You can go to the reuse it shed and drop stuff off at the landfill, at the transfer station, and you can also pick stuff up. So the kids tell their families that. And also at our bottle depot, for some reason, I don't know if this is normal, but they have a paint reuse it area. Any paint that comes in, if it's half decent, they save it, and you can go take paint for free. So the kids are just making posters to advertise this kind of stuff that's already in the community and that they're doing. So yeah, I hear you, but it's the psychology.
Huh, that's really great. That's a great tip. Thank
And we're
you.
also, no, you're welcome. We're almost out of time. If you can let me, I want to show you a couple of things that I noticed today. So my thing is, I don't want to waste any moment. If it's book club or read aloud, I never do anything except environmental stuff. So this is a Christmas story I read, and you probably know Thomas King. It's a kid's book, but it's about hyperconsumption. It's so good.
So cute.
It's really good. So that's a Coyote Solstice, and it's a cute little read aloud. That's really great. And this is we make little notebooks for, I can't remember what we were doing, some project, we need a little notebook. So all this, you can go online and Google this. You just Google stick notebook, elastic. And so this is a stick, and you hole punch there, you put the elastic through the back, and you use scrap paper and a magazine cover, and you can make this cute little notebook. So we're always looking for, if it's an art project, it's going to be about that. These are my top read alouds ever. The Wild Robot, I'm sure everyone knows it has a sequel. The Silver Arrow is another great read aloud or book club for intermediate grades. It's about endangered species, but it's really well written. Wolf Called Wander is about a real life wolf and its adventures. Excellent. I won't name all these, you can see them, but also pretty impressive environmental themes and intersection with poverty and community and immigration and racism. And someone mentioned takeout. These are takeout containers. I was at a conference. No, it was my son's grade 12 grad dinner. They had all these stupid little sauce takeout containers. They're perfect for paint. So I collected them all. And the kids sometimes bring them into me now that they know we use them. They're perfect. They come with a little lid and the paint goes in them instead of this. You know, the old one was the lid that would dry out. So we have these little things that take out, and the kids know they bring more in. If it's an art activity, here's some sock puppets, and you'll get the parents who want to go out and buy a sock or something stupid. You're like, no, we're trying to reuse old stuff just to get the kids into the idea of you don't need everything new. So that was my last little thing. And look at that, there's 9 minutes. Do we have any more questions or comments?
I just wanted to mention, I don't know if you've tried any what do you call it, dry erase markers that have reusable ink, but I did get some, they came from Australia, so that's not good, but anyway, Auspen, AUSPEN, though I'm not sure, I had a little trouble with the refillable ink, so I'm still working on whether they're going to be a great purchase or not.
That's really interesting. I'm going to look into that.
I think there was one other company that did it. I can't remember the name of that one.
Okay, I'm going to check into that refillable dry erase. That's cool. But I was pretty excited about the expo. I Googled online, and it was just, it's a whole bunch of water, and I just put in a little bit of hydrogen peroxide or a little bit of, what did I say? I haven't refilled it in years.
Vinegar?
Yeah, vinegar, a little bit of vinegar. It works.
Can I ask a quick question about, just for an idea? I'm in our school district right now, we're having issues with the custodial staff and not given enough hours and things like that. So our desks are not cleaned, but our desks are cleaned once a week. And with the kids eating on them and stuff like that, I would love to do something in terms of like making a placemat that they could use every day for eating their lunch on. Any ideas about what I could make that out of?
Oh my
Like,
gosh, dog
I-
food bags, pellet bags.
Okay,
Those
Yeah,
are bulletproof plastic in dog food bags.
yeah,
Bags. What we did in our classroom, I found out the custodian gets 7 minutes a classroom.
Yeah.
So we clean off the tabletop. They're like empty, and we sweep the floors so that
we've
she has.
just, we've just been asked in our district to not do any of the jobs that the custodians do. We are
Oh.
not, have students sweep the floors, we're not to sweep the floors, I think it's ridiculous, and I'm still doing it, but,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, like the thick plastic bags
Yeah.
like that,
Yeah,
okay,
like any of those freezer bag food bags are so strong, like, and dog food and wood pellets also very strong.
okay,
Yeah, and that's a great idea to have a little mat, but then they can clean it themselves and it's not cleaning something in the classroom. But in my
right,
classroom,
well,
we
I'm
sweep the
just,
floors, we do the boards, we do the desks. We don't wash the desk, but we could.
yeah, even like, can you think of anything cloth that we could make, or does anything jump into your head? I don't know, I have to think about it a little bit or look it up online, maybe, just even with,
If you have
Something-
access to a washing machine, you could use cloth. And I don't know about your thrift store, but mine will give me whatever I ask for if I give them advance notice, like I'm looking for something. And
Yeah.
parents are a great resource.
yeah, for sure,
Yeah.
awesome, okay, thank you so much, yeah.
Well, thanks, you guys. This is super fun. I love it because every time I do one of these, I get to learn some ideas. So I'm gonna look for the Oz pen and see what else is out there. All right, have a great afternoon, and may the week seem short.
Thank you so much for being here, Sarah. We
Oh,
really
it's
appreciate you.
a pleasure. It's always
Thank
nice
you
to
very
meet
much.
colleagues. Have a good week.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks.